Well, today's topic was about choosing songs. That was, did you see that topic?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so here's what I thought. Here's what prompted me to do that, and it was partly this morning's fertilizer, which is about songs. But what happened to me, I was stopping and kind of praying and asking, I have this queue when I'm writing a fertilizer. I have a queue of, there's probably 20 started fertilizers, or at least a topic that I want to write about at some point. And I go in there, which one am I drawn to? What am I motivated by? And I started writing on one, and I was just not feeling it, I was just like not feeling this. It's like, you know what, let me just stop. I just stopped and got quiet for a minute and just prayed. And it was either the King of Endless Worth or the I Love You, Lord song that came into my head. And I found, I know I must have sang through it or hummed through it or, thought through the song and just began to feel this sense of connectedness to God that I had been missing. And I was like, man, what if I would list a bunch of lines from songs just as a primer to help other worship leaders get excited or get connected to God? Because what I've been finding is in this season that's been so disorienting for all of us on so many different levels, that when I remember that there's these amazing songs the Lord has given us to connect with Him through, to honor Him by, to sing together in and celebrate together in, or to pray together in song. And I forget, I won't put this on you guys, but I forget that we have this, and that, I can get into the place of when I'm leading worship, like, okay, got to pick some songs. What should we do this time? And I'm thinking through that. And I think we can talk about that today. But I just had this gratefulness well up in me to we are so rich. We have so much that we have that the Lord has given us in songs that we can use and sing and lead with and meet Him in. Really, I wasn't trying to get ready to lead worship. I was just connecting with the Lord. So it was like a personal thing. And so I thought, choosing songs is such a big deal. It's such an important deal because I still always remember Pastor Dean. Pastor Dean, Kevin. He asked me something like, I wonder why the author of this song wanted to put those words in our mouth. And I thought, wow, what an odd thing to say. What a weird thing, or not in a bad way, but in a, oh my goodness, there's a lot of weight here. We're the people that have written these songs have put them, that we're then choosing these songs to have our congregations pray and sing and declare. That's a big deal. So it makes me think that there's a lot of weight on what we're doing, but a lot of joy, in what we get to do, and just there's such a resource of songs that we get to sing from, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, kind of where each of us come from as we're thinking about choosing songs. So that's my little setup, and then I whatever comes to each of your minds, I'm curious, what are you thinking about that piece, the resource that we have in songs, but then also about when you go about choosing your songs, what goes through your mind, especially in the moment that we're in right now, where maybe we're gathering again, live, maybe we're still all online, or maybe just thinking back to the last several months of being online only. What have you been thinking, and what's your approach? Maybe is a better way of asking that question. So it's kind of a really wide topic, and we'll kind of navigate through it, but what are you guys thinking?
I'll go. When I'm picking songs, first of all, we have a song list and we try not to make it like wide open to every song that's ever been written. We narrow it down to maybe 50 and try to pick from there. And that way the people, when they're singing, they're familiar with the song enough to say, I can join in. Like I'm not having to learn the song today. So I'm familiar enough to sing it. And so I would usually look at like kind of what's the topic, or what's the sort of what's the thought that I want to convey. And a lot of times the pastor that I used to work with would never give me anything and say, this is what the sermon's going to be about. He would say, if it's about Jesus, don't worry about it. I'll make it work. But he wouldn't ever tell me like, I'm going here, I'm going there. So it was okay. And so then it was very freeing, but it was also not very helpful. And so I just started to pick up topics and say like, something that comes to my mind is the goodness of God. Like how good is God to me? And, I might think of the song that has this line, you are good, good, oh, oh, that's the king of my heart. And like, and I sort of just sing through that song myself in my head, maybe out loud, maybe I sit at the piano and do it. And then when the song is over, I just kind of like sort of sit there and let it kind of, this might sound corny, but it's like, where does my heart want to go next? Like, what do I want to do? And where do I want to go from that thought that I have there? And where I might go is to a song that's called The Goodness of God. And, just like, so go right out of that, right into the next song. And then when I'm done singing that, where does my heart want to go again? Kind of like, I want to go somewhere. And that, I often end up with 3 or 4 songs that are just like, wow, they really fit together. And I try to remember that and say these songs go together, but then the next time I do it, it might not feel like that's where I want to go. Do you know what I mean? So I don't always end up with the same set just because I started with the same song. So it's interesting how that works. And I find that very helpful, is to take time and to actually either physically actually go through the song and sing it, or to sing it in my head. And like when I'm getting to the end, like, where do I want to go? Where does my heart want to go next? That's what I do.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I would say similar for me. We have more than 50 songs in our song bank, trying to weed it down, but it's hard sometimes. Just when I take a song out, someone says, why don't we do this song? And I'm like, just take it out, So, but yeah, my pastor, he does like me to have the songs go along with the sermon. And so I like that because, like you said, Kevin, it kind of gives you somewhere to go, I mean, yes, I always, of course, first pray and say, God, direct me to the songs, direct my heart to, what we need to sing, on Sunday. But then having a topic in scriptures, he gives me the scriptures and, kind of go from there. So he likes that. And it's to me, it's helpful because, like I said, it just kind of gives me direction. And so same thing, I get on the themes on CCLI and praise charts and kind of look and see, and he doesn't usually give me like a topic like this is about grace or the sermon's about whatever. He'll give me scripture, the scripture passage that he'll be staying in mostly. And so then I kind of read through that and get an idea myself of what I think the sermon's going to be pretty much about. So yeah, I mean, and then as far as placement, once I have the songs picked, it's how is it going to flow, and what does go well into the what would go well into the next song, and just kind of I think because I don't play an instrument, that you guys that do, I think you guys are better at that, because how you can like transition easily into the next song or whatever. But I try to try to do the best I can with feeling like, okay, how's this going to flow when we end here? You know, like if we're going to have, you know, a soft ending on this song, if we're going back into the bridge and we're going to end like open up the heavens on show us your glory or something. And then the next song is probably going to be a soft start song to kind of ease into that, you know, rather than like right into another powerful song. If we're going to do that, then we'll end strong on open up the heavens, you know. I don't know. So just like little things like that. I try to make it as smooth as possible.
Mindy, do you do a song at the end of the service, like after the message is over?
Yes.
Always kind of like at least
Always.
one or more than
one.
And so like, would you ever be like sitting there hearing like the lyrics for a song is just coming into your head while he's preaching, and then you say, oh man, we should just do this song? Like, do you have the flexibility to do that, or is your team not quite ready to do that kind of thing?
No, they would kill me.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Well,
but that happened. But
Yeah.
then there's lots of times too that I'm sitting there going, oh, this closing song is going to be awesome, you know? So yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious, how often do you, when you go to like CCLI and search for themes, how often do you add a new song just because it fits that theme? Is that something that you do, or you don't ever do that?
What do you mean add a new song?
Like
Learn a new song?
Yeah. Like teach a new song just because it fits and it seems to fit with the other songs.
If it's one that I feel we can do, and you know, I'll bring it to practice on Thursday night and say, hey, do you think we can get this together? You know, then yeah. I mean, we'll try to. Probably doesn't happen a lot, but occasionally when I'm like, this would be just a great song, or I'll bring back an old, you know, archive one that we haven't done in a long time, and you know, but they know it and it'd be good for it, so good for the service. So.
We also had a formula that I had the worship leaders at the church sort of following, that we would do basically every month. We would do a new song, and a new song meaning not necessarily just written, but new to us. Could be a 5-year-old song, but we never did it. But we would add that song in, and then it would either become part of our regular group of 50 songs, or it wouldn't. Like, we would say, hey, we gave it a try. We did it 3 weeks and it bombed every time we did it, so we're not going to do it. Or we tried it and people love it, and it's that people are connecting with it, so we're going to put that in our list, and we're going to bump something else out of the list that we don't use very often. And so we always would do 3 songs from the list, 1 new song, and the other song could be any song. Like it could be a hymn. It could be something that's definitely not on your list. Like it could be, I don't know, Lord, we lift your name on high, or something like that. It could be 50 years old, or it could be 500 years old for that matter. And so we have 1 free song that can come from anywhere, 3 from the group of 50, and 1 new song every month. And that really helps to build your set in a way that seems to be fitting with what the congregation is up for. You know, they congregate around the songs that they like, and so.
Yeah, we try to also learn 1 song a month as well. So always, but I need to take some out when I bring in a new one. That's the key.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like I have loved using. I mean, it's interesting to hear the first 2 ideas are very kind of planning oriented. I think both Kevin and Mindy, you guys are kind of planning oriented, and John Nichols' system fits in, you know, really well with that idea of like, you know, okay, first you got anything that you haven't done for 2 years, just set that aside and call that not on the list, and then go through and categorize the songs that you want to do and call them tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, classics and hymns. And then the way I used to use that is I went and categorized all the songs in Planning Center using those 3 things. That, you know, the new songs are the tier 1s. Songs that have been around for maybe up to 6 months or so, they're pretty well known but still kind of newer. And then tier 3 are ones like people really know but they're still current, versus like the classics that are like they're everybody will know them, but if you sing them every week they'll be like, why are you doing that song again, you know? And then the hymns. So I went through, categorized everything in Planning Center that way. And then when I was going to go choose songs, I would go into the songs, filter by, let's say tier 2, and then I would sort it by what's been done the longest to go and start there and say, does this feel like it fits this Sunday? No. Does this feel like it fits? No. This song, yes, that song it fits. So I'm trying to get from every category, and I'm also rotating them so it's not all the same songs all at the same time. Anyway, it's a really cool and efficient system, but it's very much a programmatic, systematic approach, which is that's not what I would naturally do, but it can be very helpful in a lot of situations. But we haven't talked about anything about the songs themselves, and maybe Tony, you want to chime in on if you have a thought about the songs themselves, or if you had a different thought.
Yeah, I was thinking, now obviously I'm coming from the tech side of things, but when I was leading worship, like for small groups, now this is kind of a sideways thought, but for me, I was often caught with the ceiling of, I'm not really comfortable with this song and this song and this song, even though that would fit really well. I'm more comfortable with this. So that level of compromise really led me to just a need to actually rehearse and run through songs so that I felt comfortable, so that I wasn't limiting myself to what I could select safely. So I couldn't help but think that while you guys were talking, like, boy, how would I approach choosing songs? And when I was choosing songs, I was quite limited because I was picking off of my ability and my comfort level instead of what would serve the body. So I didn't know if anybody else had ever experienced that.
It's a challenge. I'll tell you what I think I see a lot of teams doing, especially when you go in and coach, is a lot of teams aren't aware of enough their own limitations. And they try to do songs that, like, it's not, I don't want to say it's not going to work, because I've also seen God do stuff with stuff that doesn't work, right?
Sure.
But like from a practical, planning perspective, I think I've seen teams, especially leaders, and especially younger leaders, who like are fired up about the song, and they're like, your drummer can't serve that song in a way that's going to make that song feel like you're wanting it to feel like, or you don't have an electric guitar player, and that, how are you going to rewrite the song to replace the energy that the electric guitar drives in that? I mean, you could totally do it, but are you thinking about that? And so they bite off more than they can chew, and they try to do a song, but it just doesn't really land the same way that they're hoping, I think. So
yeah, that's a great point. Like, what do you do when the song that you want to do is not going to work? Like, do you feel confident enough to pull the plug, or do you push on through and just say, well, we'll get through it and maybe it'll be better next week? I don't
know. Yeah. I think most people just push through. I mean, I think some brave people pull the plug, but I mean, from what I've seen so many teams lead so many songs, and I'm like, man, this is not working. And that's from my perspective. Half the congregation has no idea, and the other half might have some idea, and maybe 10 people are like, that was terrible, but my perspective is probably that I'm because I'm used to helping people do things a certain way. I'm paying attention to stuff that
yeah.
They're brave, they push through, and it's okay. I think if there's a danger in any of that, it's more the long-term effect. Like you get complacent by cramming the song into your playing ability, and you do that as a habit. So your playing ability stays flat, and and you as a team never really get better, which is a problem to me simply from a stewardship perspective. Like, I don't care what you sound like. That's, you are where you are. That's fine. It's not a show. It's not a contest. Not a battle of the bands. But from if the Lord has given you something to steward, it's His, and He's the owner, and you're supposed to make it get better. So.
Yeah. Well, along with that, and here's a question that, maybe Mindy, you would be good at answering this, since you said you weren't a musician. Is there a time that you allow for feedback with your team on what worked and what didn't work and why it didn't work, and if you could do it better? Is there room for that, or does everybody just kind of part ways and say, let us never speak of this incident again?
No, no, there's definitely room for that. And I'm always looking for suggestions and help. Like, I forget, a couple weeks ago, we did one song and I was like, the next song it goes so, they're like fit together so well, but they're in different keys. And so I'm like, how can we go from the end of this song and go into this part of this next song, and my acoustic guitar player, he's pretty good at, figuring transitions out, and he figured it out. And so we were able to do it, and it was really cool. So,
that's great.
Yeah, definitely utilize them, because they know a whole lot more than I do on what's good and what's going to sound good and what's possible. And yeah.
Cool.
That's cool. So does that happen in like a rehearsal before the service, or do you guys have a midweek rehearsal? Or
Yes, we have a rehearsal on Thursday nights.
okay.
And I try to have an idea, by then, pretty sure of, how I want the service to flow, and, what I'm wanting to do. So, yeah, so we were able to get that down on Thursday night. So that was
nice.
cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Is it Celia?
Yes. Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Did you want to share any of your thoughts on choosing songs?
Yeah. Well, same as Mindy, I'm not a musician. I do have two of my daughters are the ones who are part of the worship ministry too. Andrea, which is the oldest, she's 17. She plays the guitar. She also is the lead singer. Sophia plays the piano, and she's like the second voice or something, the second note, something like that. So like you see, I don't know anything about music, but our church is just starting. We have 2 years already that my husband and myself are pastoring the church, and our worship leader, she was having some family issues, and her children speak only English. Our church is bilingual, Spanish, not bilingual. Well, we're bilingual, but it's Spanish.
Yeah.
And so she moved with her kids to an English only speaking church because of the boyfriends and husbands of her children were English speakers only. So she moved. She unfortunately had to move late on, I'm gonna say last year in September. So it's almost gonna be a year. So since then, it was me who took her spot. And this is the scariest ride that I've had so far. I've been a Bible Sunday school teacher and a discipleship teacher, but never related to anything with music. So my husband's like, well, you have to take it. And I was like, "Ah." So without having that music background, I've learned to choose the songs, as you have mentioned. Sometimes I know the topic that my husband's going to bring, so I try to choose the songs that are familiar to the whole congregation, and maybe just a word that's related to the topic. And then I develop, the whole worship and praise time through that. Sometimes I do, like Mindy says, bring this past couple of months a new song per month. But sometimes I see that it's kind of hard for the rest of the team to get it. It's in my head, it's one thing, but once they start playing it, it doesn't flow. But Andrea is the one that she's always pushing, like, Mom, yes, we can do it. We can do it. And sometimes I'm in the mood, like I said, well, the Holy Spirit's in the mood, and then we do a medley. And medleys, and Spanish songs, you're like fast, and they're like fast songs for praise. And the transition was getting hard for them to do. And for the past 5 months or so, I think even though we were not meeting with the people, the rest of the congregation, I think it gave them more confidence to be able to work on their own with no public, with no congregation. So now they're able to work from song with no problem, with no, to me, I don't see it as a problem, or to them, because at first they used to say they would somehow play between the piano and the guitar. They learned this language without how they communicate from one end of the altar to stage to the other. And I don't know if it's signals, hand signals, or face signals, or eye twitches or something. I have no idea how they communicate, but they make it flow. Yeah, they make it flow. And I think it's just practicing. And practicing means like the same song over and over sometimes, even though we might sound like repetitive, but the congregation also needs to learn the song sometimes. And if you bring too many new songs, they don't get to learn them, or you get to, it's like ¿cómo se dice? Un termómetro, like a thermometer. You get to feel like the feedback of the congregation. There once a month we congregate with the English speaking church who hosts our church. And so we come together with one, and we are in charge of the worship. So Spanish to English is a totally different word to worship. But I've developed that, like the feedback that the congregation gives. You maybe and but it's kind of hard that music background, and I am trying to learn as much as I can, and that's what I'm here listening and trying to learn, because it's something good to for the church that is just growing. It's new, and I want to learn as much as possible as well. And I told my daughter, please wake up. I need you to be here at 3 o'clock. But they're so into their non-summer vacations. I'm going to call it non-summer because it's not there. But she's like, well, you talk about it. But we have given, and I still follow on your emails and all that. After Atoma, I just want to give this testimony. After Atoma, 2 years ago, you guys were here and you guys gave the workshop. My daughter, at the end, they made a call to all those who have maybe wrote a song or something. I don't remember exactly what the call was. But I told my daughter, you should go. And she's like, but I haven't written a song. I said, yes, you have. You always sing songs and they're not written, so go. And she's like, no. But that same weekend, she came home during one of the nights. She called us and she's like, Mom, Dad, I have something to show you. I want you to listen to this. And she played a song that she wrote it herself. And it was like a, ¿cómo se dice? Un incentivo. I don't know how to say it. Like something that pushed her forward into writing, like she felt that urge and desire. And she actually wrote a song. And not only that, she has written two songs already. And she played, with the chords and everything with her guitar. And she gave it to her sister to play on the piano. And she also gave it to her cousin to play it in the drums. So they actually presented it to the congregation last year, her first song. So it's
Wow, that's
something that I
beautiful.
know you guys are doing something good. You're planting
Uh,
that seed, and others are like taking it and putting it, fertilizing it and making it grow. So
yeah.
thank you. And that's
Wow,
Great.
praise the Lord. That's so encouraging. I love hearing that your daughters are playing and involved in leading.
yeah, yeah,
That is so cool. I love it when my kids, get to do those kinds of things. It's amazing.
yeah. It fills you up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, well, I'm curious. There's so many things about songs. Like, do you guys think about the direction the songs are? Think about the songs themselves. Is this a song that we're singing to the Lord directly? Is it a song that we're singing like towards each other, like more declaration
Yeah.
song, or um, does it come and like where does the song come from? Does it come from um, the United States? Does it come from Australia? Does it come from a large church, a small church? Does it come from like, for example, a lot of the Bethel songs, not all the songs, but there's a number of Bethel songs that came from a spontaneous moment in a service, and then they took it back and then they reworked it into a song. Like there was a seed that was birthed there. So it was very much like, I'm going to call it birthed in worship, versus like, uh, a, a Christian band that, I have no idea. I don't know where that was birthed or how that was birthed. It was a songwriting session, and that's fine. It's just my question isn't right or wrong. It's saying, are we thinking about everything that goes into this song? In terms of the direction. Obviously, the theology in it needs to be good, right? That is, to me, goes without saying. But I go ahead and say it. The theology has to be good. um, but not just like the theology has to be good. That's as I say that. To me, it's very interesting, the role that a song plays in our life. It's when we're not in church, when we're just at home living life, things go through our heads, right? And truths go through our heads, thoughts go through our heads. A lot of times from songs, and there's been times where I had the radio on, or I was listening to some song that wasn't a Christian song, and that was stuck in my head, and it took me a while before I realized, oh, I'm singing this thing on repeat in my head. That's not even true, or even positive. It's not God focused at all. It's not even like helpful, you know. So for a song to be theologically correct, it's like, oh, maybe there's no heresy in it. There's nothing that's like, well, this isn't in the Bible. This isn't true. But what is the outcome of the song? What is the effect? Maybe is the best way to say it, of that song on us as we sing it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have any thoughts on those kinds of things about the direction of the song or the source, or when it was written. I mean, I remember I did a survey of my church one year, and I wanted to find out what hymns they knew and loved, because I didn't know hardly any hymns, and I didn't want to just do hymns and then they not be the ones that connected with them. So I did all this research, and I got all their favorite hymns, and then I went and did the research on, who the author was, what year they were written, what century they were from, and kind of categorized them that way. Even I did crazy in Planning Center. I have it like written out. I can filter by from 1300 to 1400, what songs were written from that period, and I can find them. Anyway, do you guys think about all those elements of the songs?
I wouldn't say I think about whether it was written, like you said, out of a spontaneous worship moment or out of two writers getting together and writing a song. I do like to always look at the backstory on the new songs that we're going to learn, and kind of, read up on those, or find out, I'll YouTube and look for the story behind the song, just to kind of see like how it came to be written. I think that's very interesting. And Yeah, I mean, I was telling our team the beginning of this year, I said, you know, I really want our new songs to be more of, you know, what do we want to say to God on Sunday mornings? Not as much about us, you know, the ones that talk about me and, you know, us. I mean, yes, there are some great songs that do that, and I think there's definitely times for them. I mean, even just walking through what we're walking through right now, you know, it's helpful to sing those songs of, you know, like, you know, not for a moment will you forsake me, and, you know, just when you're walking through hard times, you know, it's good to cry out, you know, those truths and those, you know, just about God's faithfulness, that we know he's still going to be with us, he's still there, whatever. But you know, I really like to focus on, you know, what is it that we want to say to God on Sunday morning, more so about him than about, you know, what God is doing for me. More about his, you know, who he is. And so I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I
Sure.
have a really hard time with I love to pick new songs to learn, but I know it can't be all what I want because I need to include the team. And I know Karen Blanchard, she's got a whole, you know, like song committee around her that helps her in selecting new music. And I've thought about doing that, but I haven't done that yet. But I find a lot of times my team brings me songs that they just like. They're fun to play, they're great, you know, fun to sing, but they're not really like, maybe they're not what first of all, I picture our church singing. Like, I'm like, do you guys really think you can hear the congregation singing this song? You know? But I just feel like I get a lot of kickback on that. And I feel that they kind of look at, it's always, you know, what does Mindy want to sing? But I try to, you know, say, you know, it's not just about what I want to sing, but yeah, what do we want to say to God? Do we see our congregation singing this? You know, do you feel we can play this? Like you said, you know, are we capable of doing it? No, we don't have to sound exactly like the recording, but, you know, we're not going to sound like the recording, and we shouldn't really strive to sound just like the recording. It's kind of like our guideline to kind of help us. But, you know, so I know it's off topic, but that's when it comes to selecting
No, that's very much on topic.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding, Mindy, and I think that's really important to me. Like it's kind of like if if you're Spanish and you go cook a meal for an Amish family at their house, the spices that you have at your disposal are like, this isn't going to work. I can't make what I'm making with what you have in your cupboard.
Butter.
Right. Yeah, I can't do it. So there's a certain point where you have to just recognize, where are you at, what's the culture and community that you're in, and what tools make it. And not to, take the easy way out, but there is an element of youth, that is like, yeah, let's just do this. I like it, so it's good. It's like, well, I'm not saying it's not good, but is it right for us? And being honest about that, sometimes you just have to be honest and say, it's not right for us. We've worked with churches that have struggled with, the team is doing songs that they like, but nobody in the congregation is singing. And they think it's because, oh, they're just old and they just want to do hymns. It's not just that. It's that they're not connecting and resonating. And there's a line being drawn in the sand of, well, that's what they like because they're young people, and oh, well. And they're actually shutting their brain and their spiritual brain off, which is the saddest thing that can happen in a worship service. because we're supposed to be compelling people to worship and encouraging them and bringing them, out of the weeds to look at God, you know. So if you're not tuned into that, you're missing out. And for me personally, I'm not a big lyrics person because I'm so much on the technical side of things that even when I'm playing and making music, I tend to think an arrangement and what serves the song, what works technically. And so I find I need to be in submission to my worship leader because he is very much into songs, lyrics, what they're saying, what what the goal of the day is. So any suggestions I make to help the song has to come underneath and has to submit to the authority of the song, right? So I'm serving it in a technical way, but realizing that that's not the most important. The most important is, does it serve the body, and does it take us, and is it congruent with where we want to be in the service today, with the message, with where the church is going in this time? If I usurp and try and step up and say, I don't like this song, it doesn't work because blah, 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 that might not serve the church. It might make me feel better as a technician. It might make me feel better saying, well, this bridge isn't working for me, or this pre-chorus doesn't feel right. But I need to make sure that I'm submitting. And when I submit to that goal, then things work because I can really serve him or her, whoever's leading, and say, technically this isn't working. What can we do to make it work so that the message goes out? But if I take over, then things get murky. Does that make sense? That's often the way I think of things because I'm not as tuned in to lyrical and the message when I'm playing. When I'm in the congregation, that's totally different. Then oftentimes I find that I have to stop singing and speak the words because I'm a technician and I love a good melody. I love a song that I love. It's easy for me to get sidetracked and I love this song, which is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes I have to force my soul to stop singing and think about what I'm singing so that I reorient myself to worship and not just music. For me, that's me personally. So if there's not theological depth there, if it's not saying anything, then I find I lose interest really fast. If I'm just, singing, oh, it's good, 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 good. It's good, 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 good to worship. That doesn't do anything for my soul. It doesn't help me orient myself. So that's where I can relate to what you're saying, Mindy, is having something with theological depth for me to orient myself to and saying, yes, this is who you are, God. You are this. It helps me personally to orient myself to worship. It's not wrong to sing fluffy songs or songs that are fun. I'm not saying that's wrong. They have their place, probably. But if that's all you're doing, it's kind of like having a diet of cotton candy. It's just probably not healthy. But it's good to have a dessert every once in a while. That's fine. Be balanced. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Seems they're both pretty far.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it sounds like you're trying to help your team say, listen, I'm not picking these songs for me, guys.
Right.
I'm having to make a call because I'm the leader, but I don't pick them because of me. I'm trying to think of what the congregation need. What's going to be good for the body. That's how I want you guys to think when you bring me songs. think about them first in the context of, is this what they need? You know, and sometimes I'll if, you know, for those, you know, energetic young poppy songs, I'll literally say, do I think my 78-year-old mom can sing this song? Might be one way of me getting to say, like, yeah, I can see her sing this, or like, you know what, there's no way she's not gonna. I mean, she could sing it because she loves Jesus, but she's not gonna connect with it, you know, very easily. It's gonna cost something. Do I want to do that? I'm not sure. Or sometimes I'll say this. I'll say, what would this song sound like if a choir sang it? Do you think a choir could follow this melody? Not that it has to be all like easy and boring, but that gives me a grid that's really different, because that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a choir, the people sitting in the congregation, right, sing this song. It's not me, the vocalist, just singing the song. It's my choir singing this. Can my choir pull this off? You know, and if I can help my team own that and ask themselves the same questions with the same criteria, you know, I mean, some churches have like a printed sheet that says a song has to fit this criteria for it to be sung here, you know, and that's not my style, so it feels excessive, but I understand what they're doing. I mean, they're putting their values in a concrete way, so they can choose things not based on, I like the song, you know. But
Yeah.
I wrap up. Anything completely off topic, and the idea for having something off topic is that since we're all like living in this crazy world together, you know, like it's weird, it's lonely, it's just disorienting. So is there anything that you want to say that's completely off topic, not necessarily about worship ministry, anything that you're seeing God doing, or a question you have, or, you know, a little mini rant, something, anything?
I just have maybe a story to share. I just today, I was in touch with a lady. She's a pastor in my country, Honduras, in the same town where I grew up. Yes, I know we're kind of close. You're in Costa Rica, and I'm in I'm from Honduras. So my grandmother used to go to her church when she was young, and she was going out with this boy who's now the pastor and her husband. And my grandmother kind of set them together, right? So she was involved in that. And I was about 2 years old when all this was happening. So she would take me to her church, and I remember sitting on the benches. There were benches back then, and I could actually picture, like, when I sit down, I could actually see my legs like sitting, you know, straight up, like forward, and just playing around. I don't remember that much, just playing around. So I'm in touch with this lady now through Facebook, and she's like telling me the stories that my grandma was the first person who came to Christ in my family. And she would pray, well, while she was praying, she would kneel, and I can actually see her kneeling next to me. And she would fast. She fasted. Her last fast before she died was for 40 days. And she fasted for her whole family to come to Christ. And she says that she remembers that when we were praying, I would pray in Spanish, Señor, echa fuera demonios, which means Lord, cast out demons. And I was only 3 years old, 2 to 3 years old. And I would be repeating this with her. And they were like, oh, she's going to be a warrior. She's going to be a warrior. You know how, people back then would say. So, but time passed. I grew up. We came to New York, and we were not going to church until I was 23, 24. And that's when I started going, I came back to Christ, and this was my serious time. Back then I was just in the fear of the Lord, but not doing anything bad. But so this time conviction came into my life, and that's when I decided, to follow Jesus, and I turned back. And I met my husband. So I started serving the Lord. In 2014, we were called to pastor. just yesterday, she seeing the fruit of my grandma to this generation to her is like pleasing, and so she was very happy that that skipped like one generation, my mom's generation, and then now I'm serving the Lord. Curious, what is happening? I'm praying, and I'm in. I had this phase, and my dad still is embarrassed, and we came to visit. And when he came to visit in 2017, he came to Christ. But since 2017, when he back in Paris, we have not had any contact whatsoever. And so I don't know how his spiritual life is. I wish that someone would follow up. I can't do it from here. I feel like it's not the same through phone, or through the internet. So I talked to this lady today, and I asked her, Pastora, I've been praying because of my father, and I'm concerned with his, with his life and his soul and all this, and I want him to grow in Christ. And I just pray, and I don't know if I'm going out of your boundaries, but I wish if you could reach out to him. And she's like, this is what she said: I am friends with her brother, and with his sister, and his sister has mentioned his health, and we've been praying for him. And I'm like, what? I know, and I got so excited. This is like the best news ever, because I'm like telling her, I'm praying here, and I'm just interceding here for my family and my family, my father, my sisters, even though they're in Honduras. And I'm like, Lord, please put angels around them so that they can speak the word to them, and this and that. And I'm like crying myself out. And then this lady comes and she tells me that, oh yes, we've been praying for him. And I'm like, oh. Yes.
Wow.
And I told him, this is how God's word is fulfilled. Like, uno siembra, I don't know how to say it in English.
One plants.
El otro riega y el otro recoge. El Señor es el crecimiento. So I felt that word just fulfilled, and this little piece of news I got today. So yes.
Yeah. One
God.
plants, the other one waters, one harvests, but God is the one that brings the increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
So I'm very happy.
Oh, that's so good. We celebrate with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Well, thanks y'all for being a part of this today.
Thank you.
It's good.
Thank
It's
you.
good.
Thank you for opening this window.
Yeah.